We're going to make chocolate brownies. Now, chocolate brownies aren't cakes, they're more like moist, chewy chocolate bars. And the biggest mistake in making chocolate brownies is to overcook them. So you want to take them out of the oven after about 35 minutes. They'll still feel quite soft, but as they cool down, they firm up. So for your chocolate brownies, you will need some chopped plain chocolate, some pecan nuts, which are absolutely optional, some eggs, caster sugar, cocoa powder, which will give it a lovely chocolatey flavour, vanilla extract, not essence. Generally, the essence is kind of synthetically made and doesn't resemble the real thing. The extract is quite expensive, but a little goes a long way. Some plain flour, baking powder, instant coffee, and some butter. And the first thing you want to do is to preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius, that's about gas mark 4. And you want to prepare your cake tin. Now, I think it's quite a good idea, because these are cut in sort of bar shaped, is to cook this in a square tin. But if you haven't got a square one, a round one will be fine. Once you've done that, you can move it out of the way and you can make your lovely American style chocolate brownies. So the first thing you want to do is to take your butter and get it to room temperature. Get it so it's really good and soft. And to that, you want to add some caster sugar. Now, I'm going to show you how easy these are to make. I'm not even going to use an electric beater. And a little tip, if you want to stop the bowl really from moving too much, if you put a wet cloth underneath, that will help. And then take your wooden spoon and just slowly start to beat. Whenever you're beating anything in a bowl or whipping anything up, you're actually stirring from this part of your arm rather than using your whole arm. So just try and relax. Now, as the butter becomes softer, you can hear the sugar is kind of working and sort of graining into the butter there. The softer it gets, the faster you can get. And if you have a look, you'll see that very, very quickly, especially if the butter is really soft, that it will start to go very, very pale, light and fluffy. So just keep beating at this stage, because what you want to happen is you want the sugar to dissolve into the butter, and you want to try and get as much air in there as you possibly can, and you want to get it really lovely and soft so that by the time the eggs go in, they can be mixed in really easily. Okay, I'm now ready to add the eggs, and I'm going to add one at a time, or if that makes you nervous, crack the 2 eggs and beat them and add a little at a time. Don't add the egg too quickly because the mixture can curdle. So eggs go in, and what you can do is you can cheat a little bit by putting in just a little bit of flour, and that should stop the curdling. Now, if the mixture curdles, it just means that you lose more air in your mixture. It's not the end of the world. You'll still end up with a really yummy cake. Perhaps not quite as light, but pretty light. Look at that. It's really light and lovely. Ready for my next egg? In it goes. Keep mixing and give that a really good stir. Now that is ready to add the rest of the ingredients. And that's going to be some plain chocolate. And it's important when using chocolate in baking and puddings is to buy the best quality you can. This is Belgian chocolate. I prefer the sort of 60% chocolate rather than the 70. So I find sometimes it's just a little bit too bitter. And I'm just cutting that up. And all I'm going to do now is just move that to the side and take the pecan nuts, which I've got here, and place them on the board. And then to chop nuts, probably the easiest way is just to hold the knife and hold the point of the knife like so, and using your right hand and keeping this hand still, you want to lift the knife up as you go. I quite like them quite chunky. Now I'm using pecans, but you could use hazelnuts, almonds, macadamia nuts, whatever is your thing. We can leave them out completely if you don't like them. And then you can add those straight into your mixture. And the other flavourings is vanilla extract. I love this, but remember, a little goes a long way. Just a little splash. And also the coffee. Now, if I make these for my children, I normally leave the coffee out. These little brownies I love to serve. I like to cut them up in tiny little bits and serve them with strong coffee at the end of the meal, sort of instead of petit four. Some water just going in there, just a little bit, and then just mix that together. And then that is going to go into there. Oh, it smells good. Mix those ingredients together, and then the final thing that's going to go in is some plain flour, cocoa, and also some baking powder. About a teaspoon, which you put in. And then you want to sieve the two in together. So flour in first, followed by the cocoa powder. When you're sifting anything in, just use the side of your hand, really gently, really relaxed. You really do need to sieve this in because the cocoa will always have lumps in it like that. And you'll probably need to give it just a little bit of help. And then very gently mix all that together. Get your wooden spoon all the way around. And the mixture should be sort of quite wet, just as this is now. And then take the tin that you've prepared, and you just want to take your mixture and scrape it all in. And this is when the old spatula comes in very, very handy. You can get in there, and then just using the tip, you just want to go from the centre out. Just level it off. As the brownies go in the oven, they'll find their own way. Just sort of help it a little bit. Scrape every last little bit off the spoon, and then all you do is you put these in the oven for about 35 to 40 minutes until they're just done. Okay, these have been cooling in their tin for about 10-15 minutes, and I'm now going to tip them out very, very carefully onto a cooling rack. And I'm just very, very carefully just going to pull away the paper. And then I'm just going to very gently, they should still feel nice, and pile them onto there. When they first came out of the oven, they really did feel quite soft in the tin, but as they've cooled down, they've become quite firm. So then you want to cut them up. You can either cut them into squares or sort of rectangles, whatever shape you like. And they're kind of crunchy and sort of gooey in the centre. I'm just going to cut them up. Got this lovely sort of crust on the top of the brownie. And there you have it. They're still nice and soft in the centre, but get the nice little bit of sort of crunchiness on the top. I'm just going to pile them up now onto the plate, just so they sit really, really nice and high. And then you can just finish them off just with a light dusting of icing sugar just going over the top there. And there's your brownies. But one really nice thing you can do is to serve your brownies, and what I like to do is serve them with some coffee. So a nice big brownie on the side of a cup, and I'll just make some really lovely strong coffee. And just serve a really lovely brownie on the side. Brownies and strong coffee, wonderful.